For this video, we'll be discussing about formula auditing in Microsoft Excel under our data analytics course. Introduction. You might want to check formulas for accuracy or find the source of an error. Excel formula auditing commands provide the calculation of a formula in the active cell and which formulas are referring to the active cell. These findings are shown graphically by arrow lines that make the visualization easy. You can display all the formulas in the active worksheet with a single command. If your formulas refer to cells in a different workbook, open that workbook also. Excel cannot go to a cell in a workbook that is not open. So this lesson will make us will ensure rather that the data that we'll be using for analysis is correct. So if there are errors, we can make use of formula auditing to check errors. Setting the display options. You need to check whether the display options for the workbooks you are using are correctly set. So to do this, we click on File and then click on Options. In the Excel option dialog box, click Advanced. In Display Options for the workbook, select the workbook. So display options for this workbook, so select the workbook. Check under for objects. So all is selected, and repeat this step for all the workbooks you are auditing. Tracing precedents. Precedent cells are those cells that are referred to by a formula in the active cell. In the following example, the active cell is C2. So this is the active cell. In C2, you have the formula equal to B2 times C4. B2 and C4 are precedent cells for C2. So this is the active cell and this is the formula. So to trace the precedence of the cell C2, click in the cell C2, click the Formula tab, Formulas tab, then click the Trace Precedent in the Formula Auditing group. So two arrows, one from B2 to C2 and another from C4 to C2 will be displayed, tracing the precedence. So here you can see here the arrows, so it's quite small. Precedent cells are those cells that are referred to by the formula in the active cell. Oh, I think this was repeated, so sorry for that. Two arrows, one from B2 to C2 and another from C4 to C2, so these are the arrows, will be displayed, tracing the precedence. Note that for tracing precedence of a cell, the cell should have a formula with valid references. Otherwise, you will get an error message. Click in a cell that does not contain a formula or click in an empty cell. Click Trace Precedence in the Formula Auditing group, and we have here the error message. The Trace Precedence command requires that the active cell contain a formula which includes valid references. Removing arrows. Click Remove Arrows in the Formula Auditing group. So remove arrows. So all of the arrows in the worksheet will disappear. Dependent cells containing formulas that refer to other cells. That means if the active cell contributes to a formula in another cell, then the other cell is a dependent cell on the active cell. In the example below, C2 has a formula B2 times C4. Therefore, C2 is a dependent cell on the cells B2 and C4. Okay, so B2 and C4 are precedents, while C2 is a dependent cell on B2 and C4. So to trace the dependence of the cell B2, so we click on B2, click on the cell B2, click on Formulas tab, and click Trace Dependence in the Formula Auditing group. So an arrow appears from B2 to C2 showing C2 is dependent on B2. So these are the dependents. To trace the dependence of the cell C4, click on cell C4, click the Formula tab, Trace Dependence in the Formula Auditing group. An arrow appears from C4 to C2, showing that C2 is dependent on C4 also. Click Remove Arrows in the Formula Auditing group. All the arrows in the worksheet will disappear. Note, for tracing dependence of a cell, the cell should be referenced by a formula in another cell. Otherwise, you will get an error message. Click in the cell B6 and it's not referenced by any formula, or click in an empty cell. Click Trace Dependence in the Formula Auditing group and you will get an error message. Working with formula. You have understood the concept of precedence and dependence. Now consider a worksheet with several formulas. So let's say we have this worksheet. So click in a cell under past category. So click in a cell under past category in the exams results table. Click Trace Precedents, and the cell to its left marks and range E4 to F8 will be mapped as precedents. So E4 to F8. So will be marked as precedents. Repeat it for all the cells under past category in exams result table. So for all the cells. So we have this result. Click in a cell under past category in student grades table. So under past category in students grades table, this one. Click Trace Dependence. All the cells under past category in exam results will be mapped as the dependents. So click here, then trace the dependent. So this will be shown as the dependents. Showing formulas. The worksheet below contains a summary of sales by the salesperson in the regions East, North, South, and West. Click the Formulas tab on the ribbon. Click Show Formulas in the Formula Auditing group. So show formulas. And the formulas in the worksheet will appear so that you will know which cells contain formulas and what the formulas are. So you notice here the formulas will be shown on the worksheet. Click in a cell under Total Sales. So let's say for example this one, and then click Trace Precedents. A worksheet icon appear at the end of the arrow. The worksheet icon indicates that the precedents are in a different worksheet. So if this icon appears, then that means that the precedents are in a different worksheet. As you observe, there are 4 precedents on 4 different worksheets. So these are different worksheets. So click a reference of one of the precedents. The reference appears in the reference box. Click OK and the worksheet containing that precedent appears. Evaluating a formula. To find how a complex formula in a cell works, step by step, you can use Evaluate Formula command. Consider the formula in PV, so middle year, in the cell C14. The formula is square root of 1 plus C2 times C10. Click in the cell C14. So this is cell C14. Click on the Formulas tab on the ribbon and then click Evaluate Formula. In the Formula Auditing group, the Evaluate Formula dialog box appears. In the Evaluate Formula dialog box, the formula is displayed in the box under Evaluation. By clicking the Evaluation button several times, the formula gets evaluated stepwise. The expression with an underline will always be executed next. Here C2 is underlined in the formula, so it is evaluated in the next step. Click Evaluate. So this is originally C2. Then you notice that C2 now is changed to 0.2 to show the result. So click again Evaluate. So cell C2 has value of 0.2, hence C2 will be evaluated as 0.2. And then 1 plus 0.2 is underlined following it as the next step. So when we click Evaluate, what will appear here is square root of 1.2. Then if you click again Evaluate, this is now the square root of 1.2 times C10. Then when you click again Evaluate, this is now 1.09 something times 4976. So this is the contents of C10. And then once we click again Evaluate, the result appears. So there are no more expressions to evaluate, and this is the answer. The Evaluate button will be changed to Restart button. That means we have completed the evaluation. Error checking. It is a good practice to do an error check once your worksheet and or workbook is ready for with calculations. Consider the following calculations. So we have the calculation in the cell has resulted in the error division by 0. Click in the cell C5. Click the Formulas tabs on the ribbon. Click the arrow next to Error Checking. In the Formula Auditing group, in the drop-down list, you will find that circular reference is deactivated, indicating that your worksheet has no circular references. Select Trace Error from the drop-down list. So this is Trace Error. So the cell needed to compute the active cell are indicated by blue arrows. Click Remove Arrows. Click the arrow next to Error Checking. Select Error Checking from the drop-down list. So Error Checking, and then select Error Checking from the drop-down list. The Error Checking dialog box appears. So error in cells 5, so error information. So it says here that divide by 0 error. The formula function used in dividing by 0 or empty cells. So we can click this one to help on this error, or show calculation steps, ignore the error, or edit in the formula bar. So these are the options. If you click help on this error, Excel help on the error will be displayed. If you click show calculation steps, evaluate formula dialog box appears. If you click ignore error, the error checking dialog box closes. And if you click error checking command, again, it ignores this error. If you click edit in formula bar, you'll be taken to the formula in the formula bar so that you can edit the formula in the cell. So that ends our lecture for auditing formulas. So thank you very much for viewing this video.